eagerly anticipating a chance to share with you a lot of the lessons that I've picked up along the way. Now, I know Jerry wanted to provide you with an expert with really deep insights into the world of branding. Well, that person was clearly not available because instead you're getting Blowout Boy. But I will do my best to not go wrong here. Uh, this is the company that I work for. Jerry could have had a certified, bona fide, perhaps branding expert, speaker, author, what have you. Instead, you've got me. He got off cheap, but he also threatened to beat me up if I didn't do it. And we all know Jerry, so I succumbed to the threat, and here I am. While far from a branding expert, I have been very fortunate to have been exposed to myriad experts in the field and the campaigns that they've embarked on, and had the very good fortune of being associated with some of the real leaders in the consumer and personal care space over the years. And these have really served as the proving grounds for a lot of the concepts that I've observed. So over the next 18 minutes, I'm going to touch on a handful of branding lessons that I've learned at each one of these environments. So 6 years ago this month, I had the very good fortune of joining Allie Webb and her brother Michael Landau for lunch, and saw in their concept the new big disruptor. Shellac was mentioned earlier. It's a UV color cure product that completely transformed the nail industry, and Drybar has really done the same for the hair industry. We started as a very, very small LA-based concept and have now grown into a global love brand that is really known everywhere. It's amazing to me how well the brand is known. There have been a number of case studies done on the Drybar phenomenon, including a Harvard business case study that was really interesting. And what's ironic to me is that the blowout service is really ubiquitous, and it's been around really since the 1920s. But the genius of Allie Webb's vision was the simplicity of doing one thing better than anybody else, coupled with a fantastic customer experience under the halo of world-class branding. And it really serves as a true disruptor model in every sense of the word. Now, to be clear, we are not a blowout company. We are an experiential retailer who really transforms lives. We like to say that we don't sell blowouts, we sell happiness and confidence. And it's just not a byline, it's really very true. But we're really so much more than that. In recent years, we have transformed into a media and a data company, but more on that later. So for those of you that have not experienced Drybar firsthand, this is what our stores look like. We have 140 of them nationwide, and we'll be venturing into the European market in 2020. And we also have a fantastic product line that is sold through Ulta, Sephora, and Nordstrom stores. So the first question I really want to ask is, what is a brand? And it's always a good idea to know what a brand is before developing one. We all have our own interpretation, but most people associate a brand with a logo. But a brand is really so much more. Expert Marty Neumeyer said, a brand is not a logo, a brand is not an identity, a brand is a person's gut feeling about a product, service, or organization. I think another apt quote worth mentioning was by none other than Jeff Bezos, who said, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And it's really true. And we can all identify brands that are very popular in the mind's eye, but don't necessarily associate with positive energy or necessarily business success. Brands are about feelings. Brands are about emotions, individual experiences. So a brand, in effect, is what each of you think when you think of a particular business, service, ongoing. It's very fluid, and it's ever-changing. And let there be no doubt, your brand, each one of you, is the most valuable asset that your company owns. In today's hyper-competitive market, we have an abundance of supply and demand. Now, I'm talking specifically about the consumer products business. Very, very limited demand. This has generally caused prices to decline, while consumer acquisition costs, delivery costs, and IT infrastructure have all gone up. So what does this translate to? clearly margin squeeze. The net effect is shrinking margins critical for your brand as a result to stand out and really mean something. So when you determine who you want to be, you hone your message, you pick a slogan, you design a logo, you choose a color, and you're off to the races, right? Not so fast. Let's talk about the first lesson that I have learned in the world of branding, and that is Ruido. When creating your brand, you have got to pass the Ruido test. Ruido stands for relevant, unique, impactful, distinct, and ownable. So quickly, relevant addresses a real consumer need. Think about it in terms of Uber. Uber completely transformed the transportation business. It rendered obsolete the old-fashioned taxi business and completely changed the world. Unique. Only one in the market with specific characteristics that differentiate. Tesla comes to mind, a company that looked at the car business as it was and envisioned what it could be and created a very unique approach to transportation. Impactful. In a cluttered world, only impactful messages resonate. I think about Nike. Nike has messages that are quick, fast, and incredibly impactful and have tremendous social impact. Distinct. A physical presence that is memorable. I can think of no better example than Apple stores. When you walk into an Apple store, you notice a difference. The whole world notices a difference as their sales per square foot exceed that of any other retailer there is. Ownable. All components tie together and reinforce the brand. I think a great example would be Costco. Costco is all about savings. You notice it when you first walk in the door and see the type of infrastructure that they've established. It's just a four-wall tilt-up. Keep cost, capital infrastructure at a minimum, maximize profit, but offer great savings at, I believe it's 14.2% over cost to all their customers. So they've kind of wrapped it all into one. So as you're looking at your respective brands, the net distillation is to keep it simple. Differentiate your brand from everybody else in the marketplace, regardless of what business you're in, and do it in a very simple and linear fashion. Do your research and have comprehensive awareness of your audience, competition, mission, profile, ethos, etc. Then, and only then, should you establish your corporate identity and make sure it conforms to Ruido. This was the barometer that we used to reinforce the Drybar message, to the extent that today we are known as the proprietary eponym of our industry. Does everybody know what a proprietary eponym is? Think of it in terms of Q-tips, Clorox, Jacuzzi. They are brands that define their category. And in less than 10 years, Drybar has been able to gain that level of resonance across the spectrum due to what I consider to be great branding in a very linear fashion. Lesson number 2. A brand is only as good as your ability to grow, nurture, and protect it. You can train, motivate, even coddle your employees. You should also understand, communicate with, and serve your customers clearly. But if you don't get your brand and it's off target, the other things really don't matter because they are completely at the mercy of you getting it right. Consumers are bombarded by content every day and are becoming, frankly, tone deaf. In order to resonate, brands need to show consistency, speak to their public, and engage them, not interrupt them. Here are a handful of brands that I've identified that I think do that very well. And I'm not going to go through each one of them individually, but I would challenge anybody to say that these brands don't follow Ruido. I've even included the Foo Fighters, who I'll see in 4 days. If you think about Dave Grohl and what he's created with the Foo Fighters, it's the ultimate brand. They live their ethos. They're incredibly customer-friendly. They put out high-quality product at a fair price, and they engage like no other group I've ever encountered. Tarbell's is a small restaurant on Camelback Road and 32nd Street in Phoenix. Next time you're in Phoenix, go to Tarbell's. Think Ruido. You'll know exactly what I mean. Each of these brands, in my mind, don't speak in transactional terms. They speak in emotional terms with their customer. Each one of them have created a tribe of evangelical followers. Brands that are inconsistent, fail to adapt, break promises, and don't hold true to their ethos simply don't listen, wither, and die. Here's a couple of examples. Again, I won't go through them individually, but I don't think there's one on that page that you can say, yeah, they got it. They adapted. No, they're all struggling mightily, and there are many others with them. So did each of these regress due to their competition? Not necessarily. They declined due to complacency, lack of vision, and failure to adapt. So the many examples of brands that are in a state of decline pivoted and are now in a state of resurgence. So all is not lost if you don't get your brand straight. Here's 5 examples. Tiger Woods is a great example. Had a really tough couple of years, but through really great brand and personality management, was able to bring his brand back and is now at the top of his game. Backstreet Boys, #1 revenue generating tour in the United States right now. Been around for going on 25 years. Incredible Ruido approach. Now, these are all national brands. I identified 6 local brands that we can all identify with and have all probably patronized, who I also think subscribe to Ruido very effectively. Each of these have in their own way, their unique way, stood the test of time with their audience in this market. And each of you individually can probably identify a variety of other brands that do the same. Lesson 3, your personal brand has a direct impact on your corporate brand. As founders and leaders, you have a responsibility to uphold your values. You also need to choose how high profile you want to be in association with your brand. Here's a few examples of high profile founders who I think did it really right. Scott mentioned earlier Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx, incredible evangelical leader of her group. Obviously, Steve Jobs, Richard Branson, Oprah Winfrey, and Herb Kelleher from Southwest Airlines, I believe, did the same. And then there's always the flip side. Harvey, not good. Elizabeth Holmes, Theranos, Adam Newman, WeWork, didn't go to the right school, didn't understand how to treat their brand, and allowed their personal baggage to inhibit the brand's potential. Really valuable lesson that we can all learn from. So I personally choose to stay in the background. You won't see me on any social media, digital media. The face of our company is my partner, Ali Webb, and that's just the way I like it. Makes life easy. So lesson number 4. Once you've created your brand, it must be protected at all costs. The best way to do that is through legal protection, rapid amplification, consistency, and most important of all, no diffusion. You may ask yourself, what is diffusion? Diffusion is the art of scattering or dispersing a finite resource. That could be capital, that could be human manpower, what have you. It's fine if done so evenly and strategically, but that's often not the case. Said another way, and this is the most important message to walk away from today with my talk, keep it simple. Keep it simple. Consistency and linear execution always yields results and sustainable growth. Resist the temptation to chase bright, shiny objects. Focus on primary objectives. Next lesson, don't be afraid to pivot when it makes sense. One example hits close to home with Drybar. We started out as a one-dimensional service business. After 3 years, we decided to launch our own product line based on the margin contribution and branding amplification and the fact that we felt we could do it better. Today, product comprises 40% of our revenue. It's probably going to knock on $100 million next year with a very attractive margin profile and has added material enterprise value to our company. I mentioned earlier that we are also a data and media company. This was born out of seeing opportunities in the marketplace that others didn't. We recently launched a media division. The net effect is we have evolved the external narrative while maintaining our base message and model. Simply stated, we have 6,000 high discretionary income females sitting in our chairs every day of the week. Now think about it. They're looking at a flat screen TV filled with what used to be called chick flicks. We looked at it and said, those are captured eyeballs. So we sat down with Netflix and said, look what we've got. And then we sat down with HBO, and then we sat down with Fox. And every one of them are now contracted with us to stream live new show content into our shops in a very unobtrusive way. So it's not viewed as commercial by our clients. Oh, and by the way, they also comp all the blowouts from the shops that they buy for that week. So it's a tremendous recurring revenue source for us. Obviously drops right to the bottom line, hugely margin accretive, and everybody wins. So we've gone from a salon business to a media business and a data business. So it's been really, really important for us. So Coty just paid $600 million for 51% of Kylie Jenner's cosmetics line. Do you think that they paid that for a warehouse filled with eyeliners and lipsticks? No. They paid for it for her 150 million followers. She's 23 years old. 150 million followers. Data, folks, that's the future. That's the now. Lesson number 6, ask what you can remove from your business, every one of you. When Drybar started, we sold numerous other lines and entertained other services. Why? Because that's what everybody else was doing. So we took another path and simplified. Took out other products, removed other items for sale, and took a very linear approach. So what did Airbnb do? They removed buildings, restaurants, staff, overhead. What did Warby Parker do? They made purchasing eyeglasses easy and effort-free and removed the middleman. What did Casper do? They removed the hassle of too many choices in buying a mattress and the complexity of getting it home. So go back to your offices, look at your businesses and say, what can we remove? What can we be very focused on to make our business as efficient as possible? Lesson 7, embrace technology. Now, admittedly, I am the biggest Luddite in the room. There's no question about it. You're looking at the definitive Luddite in John Heffner. But even I recognize that things are moving fast and consumer behaviors have changed as a result. We were the first chain of scale to make all of our appointments app-based, and there are no phones in any of our shops. Why? Because it takes away from the consumer experience. But all of our interchange and most of the globe's commerce, entertainment, and socialization is going to be on one of these. We led the way in our world to fully optimize social media and digital brand amplification with performance marketing, exploiting Facebook and Instagram. This has helped us to build an even deeper moat around our company. We're in the age of efficiency. Look at dating. Tinder has 50 million users globally per month. Now, I've been married 28 years. My wife doesn't let me date. But I will tell you, this has transformed that world unlike anything we've seen. If you don't understand technology, I don't, admittedly, find people that do, hire them. You'll benefit tremendously. And there's a lot of them out there. So bringing us home, I'm going to pivot with my final general lessons, not pertinent to Drybar only, but they're necessary to build a brand, I believe, and undoubtedly increase your personal brand and increase the odds of success. Number 1, develop an insatiable sense of curiosity. That's been mentioned twice before today, and it's so true. Yeah, the question why is the best question anybody can answer. Get out of your lane. Put your head up, look around. Don't focus exclusively on your business. I spend a lot of time in the music business because I have a passion for it, but I also add value, and it's very interesting. Avoid a snow globe mentality. You have a great-looking snow globe, you shake it up, snow's flying all over the place, it settles down, it's the exact same thing. That's not reality, folks. We don't live in a snow globe. We live in an ever-changing environment that you want to be fully aware of. And finally, we've heard it before, people, people, people. You've got to hire the best possible people, treat them right, and they'll deliver for you. My head of product, who's transformed our business, has worked with me in 3 companies over 19 years. And Kim Natali is the best. And I don't micromanage. I let her do her thing, let her run free, let her create magic, and she does it like nobody else. I'll end with this. I don't know who said this, but when I heard it, I wrote it down. If you have a unique value proposition and tell it well, you will have no competition If you aren't unique and don't tell it well, you'll have a lot of competition and probably won't be around too long. Thank you very much.